This is BS with Joe. News, culture, and crazy. One blunt conversation at a time. The axis of truth. Tonight, we're drawing a line most people are too afraid to touch. Islam and Islamism are not the same thing.
And that's where the confusion starts. Islam is a faith. Islamicism is a political ideology hiding behind that faith. One seeks peace with God, the other seeks power over man.
Exactly. When people talk about extremism, they usually lump it all together, but that's lazy. 1 billion peaceful Muslims are not the problem. The problem is a radical movement that hijacks religion for conquest.
And that movement isn't new. It's been going on almost a century. To the rise of the Muslim Brotherhood in Egypt, they wrapped politics with scripture and sold it as salvation. But it was never about salvation. It was about control.
The Brotherhood became the prototype, the original blueprint for Islamism. And out of that came branches like Hamas, Al-Qaeda, and the political clerics who still preach hatred from the pulpit. They all share one goal: replace democracy with theocracy.
And they're smart about it. They don't march under one flag anymore. They infiltrate media, academia, even Western governments. Soft power first, violence later.
Soner Kagapte said it best. Islamism isn't for anything. It's against everything. It's anti-Jewish, anti-Christian, anti-Western, anti-freedom, anti-reason. It thrives on hate because hate keeps people obedient.
That's why they rewrite their own holy text. Footnotes twisted into manifestos. Saudi-funded editions printed with commentary that condemns the Western and glorifies martyrdom. Meanwhile, secular scholars print halal Qurans that teach tolerance, the same book, different intentions.
That's the real war inside Islam. Muslims versus Islamists. Faith versus fanaticism. The father who turns in his radicalized son, Mr. Abdul Muttalib, proved it. A devout Muslim warning the world about Islamist poison.
Because he understood something simple. Faith saves, ideology kills.
So, how does an ideology that toxic keep spreading? Simple. It hides inside the language of compassion and the tools of the West.
Take the media networks like Al Jazeera calling themselves news, but they serve a state agenda. Qatar funds it. The Muslim Brotherhood shapes it. And the so-called journalists push the narrative that glorify Hamas.
We've seen anchors mock Muslim leaders who promote peace, and commentators quote hadiths calling for the murder of Jews on air. That's not journalism. That's indoctrination with a teleprompter.
And while they do that, Western outlets rebroadcast it without question, as if propaganda from Doha is equal to press and freedom.
Islamism doesn't just live in newsrooms. It creeps into politics. Dearborn's mayor publicly telling a Christian resident he's not welcome here. That's not leadership. That's a warning sign of parallel loyalties.
And when police disable mosque loudspeakers for breaking city noise laws, they call it Islamophobic. But rules are rules, the same ones that protect everyone's rights.
It's the same pattern we saw in Europe. Neighborhoods turned into enclaves, laws bent for cultural exceptions, and anyone who objects gets labeled a bigot. By the time leaders admit there's a problem, the problem already runs the neighborhood.
Shows what happens next. Whenever you've seen it in Amsterdam, in Paris, and in London. Appeasement never brings peace, it only feeds the beast.
Let's be honest. If Islamist ideology ever took power globally, The lights of progress would go out overnight.
Modern medicine, Western. Individual or industrial advancement, space exploration, Western. Even the leap that pushes humanity forward has come from open societies, not theocracies.
Because free thought creates progress, dogma destroys it. When people are afraid to question, innovation dies. When people are punished for doubt, civilization stops breathing.
While Islamists debate those 7th century versions of paradise is correct, the Western is mapping out the human genome, exploring Mars, curing diseases.
That's the contrast. One worldview obsesses over purity, the other over progress. If they ever erased Western civilization, the world would slide back hundreds of years almost instantly.
And the irony is, they would do it using the tools we built: the internet for their propaganda, the phones for their recruitment, the cameras and the satellites, even the loudspeakers blaring at dawn, all invented from the societies they condemn.
They live on the fruits of freedom while cursing the tree that bore them.
And there's the part nobody wants to say out loud. The dream of global caliphate isn't going to happen.
The free world, the so-called kafar they despise, isn't going to kneel. We're divided on politics, sure, but united on one thing. Freedom is not negotiable.
They can preach conquest, chant for domination, dream of medieval rule, but the West isn't handing over free speech, science, or even women's rights to any theocrat now, not ever.
Because Western civilization isn't perfect, but it's the reason humans live longer, learn faster, and connect farther than at any time in history.
And that's exactly what Islamists fear: a world where faith and freedom coexist without their permission.
So where does that leave us? With a choice. Not between East and West, not between religions, but between progress and paralysis.
Islams who love peace deserve support, not suspicion. Islamists who crave power deserve exposure, not excuses.
The line is simple. Islam is a faith that guides the soul. Islamism is an ideology that tries to own it.
And if we forget the difference, we lose the very civilization that allows us to debate it.
That's the battle of our time. Not against a people, but against a poison. Stand firm, stay informed, and as always, stay free.
And even our governments can spew out poison. See you next time on BS with Joe. Like, share, subscribe.